Hi everyone, I'm Renee Dumont and I help Christian women all over the world to ditch the diet mindset and end emotional eating, all in partnership with the Holy Spirit. So today I'm going to help to encourage you to learn how to control your blood sugar and crave God. The number one question when people join my group or come to me for coaching, they ask me the very first thing is they want to know how to control their cravings and their blood sugar. And we know that these two things are connected, right? So when we spike the blood, everything goes out of balance. But we don't really know where to begin, or even once we get on track, we don't know how to stay there. And so today, my teaching is about sharing with you actually 3 ways to control blood sugar and crave God. And I'm just looking at my notes here because I worked on this actually the last couple of days. I put a lot of work into it. I'm actually, if you stay to the end, by the way, I will be leaving a link to a free resource that I put together. Again, I put a lot of work into it. It's a free resource to help you live a happier, healthier Christian life. All right? And my goal, again, is to ignite your faith and bring words of encouragement to give you, especially in times like these, right? There's a lot of emotional ups and downs, and we need constant encouragement. I need constant encouragement. That's why I come on and encourage you, is because I'm in this world just like you, and it's not easy. But I put my heart and soul into this little teaching here, and as well as the free resource that I'm going to give you, and I believe that it's going to be valuable, to point you in the right direction and hopefully to ignite your faith once again so that you can include God in your healthy eating journey. That free resource, by the way, is going to be 9 recipes that are fast and easy for you to make and put together, because we need to change things up, right? So, okay, so I'm going to begin. I'm going to go into this teaching. Again, the title is 3 Ways to Control Blood Sugar and Crave God. And so the very first step I feel is the most important one as far as, being able to create some kind of balance for us emotionally, mentally, and physically, and as well as spiritual, especially when we include God in the midst of this journey. So number 1, we want to get active, right? Most of us, we want a health back. We want our physical health back, but we don't realize the benefits that getting active does. You're going to hear me say often throughout this teaching one word that I feel is the most important word that I need to focus on every day, especially when sickness comes along. Some of you know that I've been sick. I've been up and down with multiple physical challenges. But if I can incorporate this word in my focus, and especially when I pray about it, then it all seems to keep me on course. That word is routine. We need to make a daily routine. Now, for some of us, we might say, well, I only need to exercise 2 or 3 days a week. We might only need to feel that we need to exercise 2 or 3 days per week. But in reality, God created our bodies for movement. I can't stress this enough. And that's the reason why I became involved in the health and wellness industry way back in the early 90s, is because I could see how society was becoming lazy, right? We didn't really hear too much about the iPhone or the computer, but most of us, we're starting to go in that direction back in the early 90s. In fact, I don't even remember sitting in front of the computer, back around 1993, 1994. But I knew that activity was very important for me, especially to fight depression. We know that there's a direct link between not exercising and depression. And if for some reason in my mind I tell myself, I don't really feel like exercising today, I got a lot going on, blah, 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 and I don't make time to create, here's another word I'm going to use, to create that daily routine in my life, then I'm not going to stick to it. There's going to be a lot of this going on, up and down. And if I can pray to God, about making daily routines and then sticking to them, then it's probably going to be more lasting, right? So I got to remember now the benefits, right? If I don't really think about the benefits, if I'm only going to identify being active so that I can lose weight, I'm not going to incorporate daily activity in my life. So number one, once you decide to, reactivate yourself, right? We can always start new, reactivate ourselves, create that daily routine. Then we can make that commitment to God, right? I also like to say to make a self-commitment. I want to make a commitment to myself to really strive to be my own best friend. I don't want to let myself down. Why? Because if my body could talk, it would probably be screaming, help me, and I want to be able to help myself, but I also want to be able to continue in this journey on this earth till God takes me home to do the best that I can to help others. All right? So again, number one is to get active. I also want to mention the fact that commitment needs management. And the reason why I'm going to share this with you is because, again, I want you to know that life is just as challenging for me as it is for everybody in the world. God didn't create me any different than he created. I wish he did sometimes create me a little different than everybody else, but unfortunately, he created us all the same, right? So when I use the word manage, that the commitment needs to be managed, it needs to not be forgotten. Because so easily, again, I've been battling with bursitis in my hip, my left hip, since probably about January. I didn't start going to physical therapy till probably 4 months later, until I finally said, okay, I need some help here, God. God is a merciful God, and he is a healing God. But we also need other people to help us, to encourage us. And it really did make a big difference for me, both mentally and emotionally, when I started going to physical therapy, because, people are there, again, they're knowledgeable, they know the benefits of exercise, and they knew just how to guide me in such a way that I could stay active without hurting myself, right? So that's important, is that when we get active, we need people. Don't try to do things alone. Know from my own circumstances, and it's happened many times where I had to turn to a physical therapist to help me to, get on my feet, give me some guidance so that I would heal instead of hurt myself. And also, it motivates me, right? Because pain can be very draining, as we know. And again, we know that God is a healing God, but God certainly knows how to put the right people in our path to help us along this journey. It's 3 ways to control blood sugar and crave God. So here's number 2. I can't stress this enough, because so easily I can do this just like, some of the people that I talk to who skip meals. So that's number 2. Don't skip meals. And why? Because even if I say, breakfast seems to be the one a lot of people say, well, if I wake up late or if I'm in a hurry, there's always an excuse, right? So, a lot of times I say, I'm not really that hungry. But what you can do is you can have a very light breakfast. So one of the things I'm going to share in this video that I have once in a while when I don't feel like eating is I just make a very small cup, almost liquid, of a little bit of oatmeal. Some of you know that I'm very big on oats because it's released slowly into the bloodstream. But you also want fat from nuts and seeds. So if on the days you don't eat eggs, or sometimes you just, let's face it, we don't want to eat eggs every single day, right? We need to change things up. So that's another thing. We want to make it a routine, right, to eat breakfast, but also make it a routine to change it up. And again, one of those ways that I do that is I have something really healthy that's low carb. Again, if we eat oatmeal in large amounts, that could affect us. But if you eat a small amount and you add, nuts and seeds, it could be flaxseed, it could be sunflower seeds, it could be nuts, that will set you up early in the day to reduce the chances of having unwanted cravings from having your blood sugar out of control. Again, we're going to keep this word in mind today. The word of the day is routine. We have to make it a routine. Okay? So, number 3, how do we control our blood sugar and crave God? Well, you're going to change when and how you eat your meals. When and how you eat your meals. That's really important. So what do I mean by that? Here's a little checklist. You can change how you cook. For an example, I went to go visit my mother-in-law this weekend, and I showed her how I cook with the broiler. Now, some of you probably, and she said to me, wow, she didn't know where the broiler was. And she's 85 years old, and she said to me, I don't really know where the broiler is. So I showed her how to turn on the broiler, and I cooked some veggies, I cooked some sweet potato fries. It was wonderful. And it cooks really fast, so that's another thing. You can use the crock pot once in a while, right? If you have a day where you're going to be out on the road and you're away from the house, have your home chef cook for you, and don't forget about that crock pot. Put your food together at night if you want to, and then throw it all in the crock pot in the morning and just turn it on and leave it on, and you're all set. Another thing is change where you eat. If you're having a hard time with cravings and you're having a hard time, controlling your blood sugar, again, because of those spikes, oftentimes it might be changing where you eat. Again, why? Because oftentimes we're influenced, right? There's a lot of influence going on around us. Or it could be that you're mindless eating. There's various things that are going on in your mind that are causing you to have, cravings, right? It could be because, again, you're not thinking about actually the food in front of you. So one of the things actually that you might want to consider doing when you have the plate in front of you is just, hold that plate in front of you and just smell the food. Think about the work that went into the food. Think about God, your creator, who created the food. And before you actually start eating, when you say that prayer, just give yourself, even if it's 30 seconds sometimes, it's just a matter of, and just, thank you, Lord, for creating the food. And think about everything that food went through actually to get on your plate, right? When you think about sometimes here we are in spoiled America, we get to eat food from all over the world. The food had to be transported and finally sitting on your table. And oftentimes you and I, we're just so quick to indulge that we're really not paying enough attention to being thankful for all the things that food had to go through to finally make it on that plate. And again, if you're spending a little bit more time in a routine, it's because of mindless eating getting in the way, or, we're being influenced in the wrong way. Maybe we're eating in front of the television and there's, commercials coming on, and, you and I, we finish our meal and then we don't know why, but, we're craving something, and then we end up overeating because we're still hungry after we eat. And sometimes, sometimes it happens right away, and sometimes, you feel satisfied for a little while, right? Have you ever done this and say, gee, I don't know why, it's like a half hour later or an hour later and I'm feeling hungry again. It's like, oh no, right? So Again, the word for the day was routines. We have to make it a routine. If we're only going to do it for a little while, if I'm not going to commit my ways unto the Lord, and I'm not going to pray about these things, and really try to stick to it, then what's going to happen is I'm going to fall back in that emotional rut, right? So I'm going to go ahead actually and read something to you. I put a bunch of notes together for today, and actually, so here's a few, actually it's 12 reasons why I'm going to read them off, why I want to give up junk food that cause sugar cravings. All right, so this is something we can all think about. Number one reason, to receive divine guidance, revelation, and an answer for a specific problem that might be going on in our life. To hear God's voice better and to understand more fully what His life is for your life. To cope with present monumental difficulties. You ever hear the saying, when it rains, it pours? Well, I know that we've all been in that situation, and sometimes we just need to include God more to help us get through these difficult times. Also, number 4 is to have freedom from bondage of junk food addiction. Junk food addiction is real. I dealt with it for years, and most of you have heard my story. Some of you who want to come to the website, and I'll actually be posting a blog anyway with this free resource that I'm going to be giving you by tomorrow. I'll be posting the link so you can get the free gift that I made for you. Worked on it all day, by the way, and it's something that I know is going to be very valuable in your life. Okay, another reason is to find freedom from bondage of other things. There's other strongholds, right? We don't realize that it's not just the food, but it's the thought patterns. It's the attitudes that we need to break. We need to establish a position for spiritual strength so that we can have a closer walk with God. And we also need a breakthrough of depression, which causes unhealthy habits. That is the main reason why we have unhealthy habits, is because of depression. We're letting depression overwhelm us, and then again we spiral and we fall back into that dark place. But you and I, that's why we have a God, a healing God, a merciful God who wants to help us. We also need to invite the Lord to create a clean heart and renew a right spirit. And again, what that means is if we're not paying enough attention to our daily routines, then it might be because you and I have developed the wrong attitude. Also, we want to gain strength to be a good example for others, right? If we have children, nephews, nieces, we have family, we have friends, we want to be a good example for them, and so that we can pick them up and help them along the way. And lastly, we want the ability to do more mentally, physically, and spiritually. We definitely don't want to be a prisoner of our own body. For years, I can remember when I was a child, some of you don't know my story, but I weighed 180 pounds when I was not even a teenager yet. And I can remember days where I would sit on the gymnasium floor because I was just too heavy to participate in those daily activities. And I think that's what propelled me actually to become so involved in the health and wellness industry when I became older, because I realized that fitness and health are truly freedom. Again, I want you to look for a link down in the description so that you can get your free resource to get you on your way to a happier, healthier life. Again, all to glorify the Lord. So God bless you, and thank you for joining. Again, don't forget to look for that link available for you for your free gift. Okay, so good night and God bless. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye. And to your health.